Okay, here we go. Chapter 2 of Wonder Kid meets the evil lunch snatcher. Brian raced through the opening in the hedge and burst out onto the playground. What he saw there stopped him dead in his tracks. Sarah was surrounded by a group of 5 tough-looking boys. The largest of them had thick black hair that stood up on his head in spikes. In his hand he was holding a brown paper sack. "What are you doing with my sister's lunch?" cried Brian. He wanted his voice to sound threatening, but it squeaked in a funny way. "This isn't your sister's lunch anymore," said the boy. He opened the sack and began to rummage inside it. "Hey, look what a lot of stuff she has in here. 5 chocolate chip cookies. There's one for each of us." He took a bite of one cookie and tossed the others to his friends. They all popped them into their mouths and started chewing. "You robbers!" Sarah exploded. "Those are my cookies." "I always like to eat dessert first," said the boy. "Now let's see what you've brought for the main course." He reached into the sack again and pulled out more things. "An apple, chips, and a sandwich. I wonder what kind it is." He unwrapped the sandwich and held it up to his nose. "Yuck, it smells like tuna. I can't stand tuna." He dropped the sandwich onto the ground and put his foot on it. The tuna filling squished out on both sides of his shoe. Brian stared at the boy in disbelief. "You can't do that," he exclaimed. "You're wrecking her lunch." "That's a punishment for breaking the rules," said the boy. "What rules? I didn't do anything wrong," cried Sarah. "You came through the 6th grade gate," the boy told her. "Only big kids are allowed to come in this entrance." "I didn't know that," said Sarah. "The hedge didn't have a sign on it. Besides, that doesn't mean you can eat my cookies." The other 4 boys burst out laughing. "You must be new here," one of them said. "Nobody tells Matt Gordon what he can't do. If Matt wants to eat cookies, Matt eats cookies." "I'm gonna tell." "No, you won't," said the boy named Matt. "Any kid who snitches on me is asking for trouble." He turned to Brian. "You came through the 6th grade gate, too. That means I get 2 lunches instead of 1. "Don't you come near me," said Brian, backing away. "I'll do whatever I want," Matt Gordon told him. He lunged for Brian and grabbed the lunch sack out of his hand. "Now, get out of here," he commanded. "Be quick about it, too, or I'll step on your face just the way I stepped on that sandwich." "Come on, Sarah," said Brian, grabbing his sister's hand. He backed through the hole in the hedge, dragging Sarah with him. "I ought to be standing up to that creep," he thought miserably. "The kids at my old school were right when they called me a wimp." "So the lunch snatcher gang got 2 new victims," a voice said. Brian spun around to find a boy watching him from the sidewalk. The boy had curly red hair and was wearing glasses. "The other day I forgot and went through that gate. Matt and his gang pulled my lunch apart and stamped on it." "Why didn't you tell your teacher?" said Sarah, blinking tears back. Sarah always hated to cry in front of strangers. "Nobody snitches on Matt," the boy said tearily. "Last year he picked on a 1st grader, and she told her dad. He went to the principal, and Matt got detention. After that, he and his friends made that poor kid's life so miserable, her folks had to put her in a private school." Brian was so shocked he could hardly speak. "Can't anybody do anything? That guy's a criminal." The boy shook his head. "Matt runs the school. It would take a superhero to bring him to justice." "It would take a what?" Brian couldn't believe what he'd heard. "A superhero," the boy repeated. "You know, like Batman, or Plastic Man, or Wonder Woman, or—" He broke off suddenly as though he were afraid Brian would make fun of him. "Or Captain Marvel," said Brian. "Or Spider-Man, or Superman." The red-haired boy stared at him in astonishment. "Do you read comic books, too?" "I have a whole collection," said Brian. "My dad calls them junk, but I feel good when I read them." "I know, they make you feel powerful," the boy said, nodding. My name's Robbie Chandler. I'm in 4th grade. I'm Brian Johnson, said Ryan. I'm in 4th grade, too. From behind the hedge there came the sound of the bell again. That's the second bell, shrieked Sarah. Now we're really late. We're late, agreed Robbie, but we're all of us late together. All of a sudden, Robbie found himself feeling much better. The end of chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like my video, and if you do, come back soon. I'll have chapter 3.